Good morning, good afternoon, folks, depending on where you are. I'm Andrew Miller, one of the partners at the Vendux Group, where we focus on helping clients to grow their sales leadership capital. And I am thrilled to be here today with our friend Steve Rosenbaum on his favorite topic, flawless follow-up. Steve is a lifelong entrepreneur who's been in sales and marketing for nearly 4 decades. And he's helped tens of thousands of businesses and professionals make more sales by leading with their back end, which we'll surely find out more about. The book he wrote 10 years ago is actually called Back End Blueprint. Steve's going to share what he has seen work over and over again in a system that he calls the flawless follow-up system. And he invented this nearly 12 years ago. So, just a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. We'll keep everyone muted for the duration of the webinar, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. So you can either use the chat function in Zoom to submit your questions, or we'll open up the floor at the end of the webinar, and you can ask your questions directly and engage with Steve as however you want. So, with that, let's jump in. Steve, it's really great to have you here with us today. Let's talk flawless follow-up. So
thank you, Andrew. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. It's great to have you. Steve, high level, big picture. We set the stage in the context. Your nickname is the King of Follow-Up. So why are you known as the King of Follow-Up? What are the basics of the flawless follow-up system, and what was your defining moment, if any, to create this system? And then I'm going to ask you about what it actually means to lead with your back end. That'll be fun.
Will do, Andrew. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for being here. And I appreciate so much you having me here on the show. So if I can remember all the questions, and I might ask your help there, but yes, I've been helping businesses, individuals, professionals from around the world with sales for close to 4 decades. When I graduated out of college in the 80s, I went right into sales. And, early on in my career, here's one of those defining moments, Andrew, and there's a few of them. But early on in my career, I had a massive sale. And the funny thing was, it was the first week that I joined a new company hired me. And it's a longish story. I won't tell the whole story. The bottom line is this. I made a huge sale because I got extremely lucky. I was exactly at the right place at the right time. And the reason why was because the person I was calling on, it was a department store. I was in the luggage business. And that department store had even told me before I came in the meeting that they didn't have any budget. They didn't have any open to buy, but I insisted on coming in for the meeting. And while I was sitting there, they found out that their vendor was not going to be able to make their delivery in time for an advertisement they had coming up. And she turned to me and she said, well, I need $75,000 worth of luggage by next week. And I called my boss, and I'd been on the job for less than a week, and said, boss, I'm sitting here with a new customer that wants to place a $75,000 order. Can we get it to him? And the boss said, we'll get it to him if I got to load the truck and drive it myself. And so, at the time, I was 29 years old, and I was patting myself on the back and thinking that I was just the world's greatest salesman. That's how I got the order. As I spent more time in sales, I realized that I really got lucky. I was at the right place at the right time with the right message. So with that, I'm a process guy. And I really wanted to put those odds in my favor. How can I make this happen again and again and again without relying on luck? What processes could I put in place? And I also realized that, I had a lot more luck and a lot more sales by selling more products and things to the people that I was already doing business with. By following up with them, I would get more sales. And we know this to be true now. We know, there's plenty of studies from the Harvard Business Review and others that show that the value of customer retention, bringing people back to buy over and over again, is as much as 14 times greater and 14 times easier than getting that first new customer, right? We all know that. Getting the new customer is the hardest, the most expensive, and it takes the longest. And so that's how I learned. And I always did very well in sales, and I was always sought after in the corporate world because I would get great increases. In the first place, the first thing I would do was figure out where can we make sales quickly. Go back to those past customers, figure out, which products they're not carrying that they should be carrying, study the data and figure out there's always clues about how we can get sales fast without having to convince people to buy something, just getting people that they're raising their hand. They want to purchase more. We just need to get in front of those people. And that's how this all learned, through my entire career. I just made it a habit of going back and maximizing the revenue with the customers that I had, making them successful, helping them sell more products, and they would grow their business with me. And that's how we, they say the fortune's in the follow-up, and I wasn't the person that invented that, but we all know that to be true.
That makes total sense. So what does it mean to lead with the back end?
Well, that's another story. All right. And this comes from when I did leave the corporate world with a little help. I got fired back in the financial crisis of 2008. I was in the building materials business at that point. We had the housing bubble, and I was with a company that a big company that let go of like 10,000 people, and I was one of them. And that's when I went into business for myself. And I started hitting the streets and trying to get clients. And at first, I just told people that I was a sales and marketing consultant. Nobody really cared because everybody knew a whole lot of sales and marketing consultants. And so nobody really paid attention to me. And one day I was calling on a guy, and in fact, it was the end of a long day of prospecting. And in fact, I wasn't calling on this guy. I went in, it was the end of the day, and I was going to get home, but I saw that the highway was jam-packed and I didn't want to sit in traffic. I'm in Austin, Texas. It was, 100 outside. I didn't want to sit still on the highway. Back in those days, I was smoking cigars. There was a cigar shop. I went in the cigar shop and I got a cigar. And the owner came up to me and he started talking to me. And we were making small talk, very friendly. And it was going really, really well. And then he says to me, he says, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a marketing consultant." And he literally got angry. Our conversation, which was going so well, his smile turned completely upside down, not to a frown, it was almost a scowl. And he said, "You're one of those guys, aren't you?" He says, "You marketing guys, you guys are scum of the earth." He goes, "You guys are coming into my store every single week. You were just trying to sell, so you don't really want a cigar. You were just trying to sell me, weren't you?" And he says, "All I know is you marketing guys, you keep promising more. You keep promising me you're going to get me on page 1 of Google. You keep promising you're going to get me new customers. All I know is I've spent thousands of dollars with you and I haven't sold any more cigars." And I said, hold on. And at this point, I was kind of improvising. He had me back on my heels. I said, wait a second. I said, "I understand what you're talking about with what they're talking about." We started talking about the importance of follow-up. We started talking about, look, those guys are trying to get you new customers, and new customers they take longer. They're a lot harder. They take money. So maybe it isn't these guys are bad. It's just that it's harder to get new, but it's a whole lot easier to bring customers back. And I said, "So let me ask you something, because, in 20 minutes, I'm going to be done with the cigar and I'm walking out that door. And what are you going to do to get me to come back and buy another cigar from you?" I said, "Those guys, they work on the front end of the marketing funnel. I work on the back end of the marketing funnel." I said, "I'm a back end specialist." And he turned to me and said, "That's what I need. I need a back end specialist." And he hired me. That name kind of stuck for a while, kind of gets me in trouble. If you don't want to Google it, you're not going to like what you find. All right. And so, but that's why, that's why my first book was called The Back End Blueprint. By the way, the guy is still my client today, 13 years later. And we've more than tripled his business. And we've done it by getting people to come back and buy more cigars. That's it, with flawless follow-up.
That is a great story.
Thank you, my friend.
So basically, are you a software company? I mean, what is it that you are helping your clients with? What is the thing? Is it a framework? Is it a dashboard? Is it a set of analytics? This is a CRM.
First and foremost, it's a process. We can make it work on any software. It so happens I do have my own software, but I get asked by people sometimes, hey, I'm working on this software, I'm working on this. So I like to say I'm platform agnostic because it's really about putting these processes in place. And that's what I do first and foremost. Yes, I do have my own software platform. And yes, if I'm working with a client and there's a need that my software will fill, then yes, my software will do it. But if not, then if I could make these processes work on any platform. I've worked with many, many, many of them over the years.
So flawless follow-up. It's a great term, but is it a fancy term for marketing? Effective marketing?
Let's say it's a part of marketing. Okay. Peter Drucker, I'm trying to remember the exact quote here. So Peter Drucker, he had a definition or the a primary purpose for marketing. Have you ever heard this? You know what Peter Drucker said was the primary purpose of marketing?
Yeah.
It was basically to make selling obsolete. All right. And he didn't use it superfluous. He didn't use the term obsolete. He said superfluous. The purpose of marketing is to make selling superfluous. And that is that if we do a good enough job marketing, we don't have to sell. We're just basically order takers. We just get people raise their hand and say, I want that. I want that. All right. So that's my job. My job is to get people to raise their hand and say they want that. But I do it in a very narrow lane, because if you say, what is marketing? And there's so many aspects of marketing, but I purely focus on that follow-up. So, a lot of times I'll be brought into a client and they'll want help with other things. They'll want help with front-end things. They'll want help with SEO and lead generation, all those things. Okay, there's a place for them, but I don't specialize in that. And so I would rather bring in a specialist that knows more about that. But there's nobody that understands follow-up the way that I do, and conversion of follow-up. And that's why I call myself the king of follow-up.
Steve, so there's not many people or companies that we work with that are in the business of luggage or cigars. Lots of clients, lots of our executives in our roster are in services, SaaS, ed tech, legal tech, professional services. How do you translate, or how does the flawless follow-up system work in the services business, in the enterprise sales business with 5 or 6 figure price tags?
Well, those 5 or 6 figure price tags, they also have very, very long sales cycles. And they also have to coordinate many, many decision makers and departments and people. And it all comes down to having the processes in place to make that happen more effectively and more efficiently. So that's with the big companies. But we also have small companies that sell $10 cigars. The reality is follow-up's important for everybody. And especially in today's environment where we're so bombarded by messages. There's studies out there that show that it takes 6, 12, 18 messages before you even begin to notice. Now, the good news is your competition, they drop out after 1, 2, or 3 messages, because if you don't have a process in place, you can't keep up with it. You can't do it the right way. We all have the best intentions, but if we don't have that process in place and we don't put those tools in place, there's no way to manage it all. It's just too hectic and too chaotic out there. And we get swallowed up with all the noise out there. But when you're consistent, when you've got consistency and frequency, then you break through all the noise, because you're the only one, you're the one that they recognize, because you're there for the long term. You're there. They see you over and over and over again. You earn that top of mind presence. They come to know, like, and trust you. There's a term that we hear all times. That takes time. That takes repetition and frequency and consistency. And those are the things that we put in place for businesses.
Yeah, it makes sense. Sometimes people ask, what makes a great salesperson, or how do you define great sales? And sometimes I just say, well, it's not about selling, it's about helping buyers to buy.
So true. So true.
What how, when you are with clients and you are training salespeople, are you doing it personally? Do you once a client says, hey, Steve, we want to adopt the system, we want to learn the framework, does it involve you going in to do the training, or is it a setup? Is it a video? Is it something that people read? What's the engagement model?
The engagement model is that I'm actually training people to become those trainers and to become value-added resellers of the system. Long term, that's not the role that I want to be in. At this point in time, sure, I do get involved in that. But I'm partnering up with many people that are longtime sales trainers in this. They've got the established clients that need this. And we're teaching them the systems and teaching them how they can be the conduit with those clients.
Okay. So we're going to open up the floor in a second. If you've got any questions, comments that, please put them in the chat, or we'll open up the floor in just a couple of minutes for any of you that want to ask Steve questions directly. Steve, maybe another question for the moment. So you've seen lots of different businesses, products and services, and $5 items and 5-figure items. Is there any business where your framework has not worked or would not be appropriate in?
I used to tell a joke when people ask me that question, because a lot of times I talk about repeat business. So sometimes I said, maybe it wouldn't work if you owned a funeral home, if you were a mortician. And then I was at a conference and I met a mortician that owned a funeral home. He says, oh, no, we spend a ton of money on marketing. And he says, no, we need that. So, I once said that as a joke. And then I did run into one guy. I do a lot of networking. And I once had a bankruptcy attorney in my chapter. And he might have made the biggest point when he said, he said, I'm not sure it'll work for me because, number one, you can't file bankruptcy, but every so often, right? And number two, part of what I do with Followup is also I help companies get more referrals, more reviews, more testimonials. Go out, tell your friends and family, spread the word. He says, yeah, but not too many people want to go brag about their bankruptcy attorney. And I did agree with him that made a little sense. So, there may be a couple oddball instances, Andrew, but even those oddball instances, I've been proven wrong. So there may be a bankruptcy attorney out there that is going to come to me and tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. Steve, when I think, I kind of pride myself on my own methodologies for Followup over a long time, but they're different from your methodologies. I love what you're bringing to the table. But so, for example, we're all having conversations with prospects and clients on a regular basis. And often people say, well, this is interesting, but I'm not ready now, or I don't have the budget, but this may be appropriate. So call me in 3 months. And I've been on both sides of this equation where I say that to people, and I really mean it. I said, whoa, you just missed the window. We're full up for this quarter with our projects and our priorities, but feel free to call me back in 3 months. And it's very, very rare that people do that follow-up. If somebody says that to me, I'm writing it down, I'm putting it in my note, and I'm going to put it in my calendar and the CRM, and I'm going to have all kinds of alerts. 3 months from now, I'm getting back to that person who said, ping me in 3 months. So that kind of follow-up and your flawless follow-up system, what are the parallels, the differences, or the similarities? And then we'll open up the floor to other questions.
Thank you, Andrew. And I love that question. Okay, so I've been in that situation too. All right. And, you know, years ago, before I had a system like this, and I don't know if you've ever encountered this, but man, you did it. You diligently made those notes and you called that person back and they said, oh man, I wish you were here last week because so-and-so came in and got the order. That's happened to me. I don't know if it's happened to you. All right. So it's a good thing to do. All right. But the real important thing here is constant engagement. It's not to remember to call them back in 3 months or whatever that time is. It's to keep engaged with them. Now, during that time, what my system is going to do is it's going to nurture them. It's going to, I call it 3 E's. It's entertain, educate, and engage. All right. You and I have had some talks about, you don't always have to be selling. Couldn't agree with you more. All right. If we entertain, educate, and engage, then what we're really doing is, I've said it before, we're getting the top of my presence. We're getting those people to know, like, and trust us. We're beating our competition because our competition isn't doing this. All right. We're also earning reciprocity because that person's going to say, this person's given me a lot of good information. They've nurtured me. And when the time comes, if the time comes before the 3 months or whatever, or something else changes, just like that situation happened with me, the story I told at the very, very beginning, where something changes like that, then they say, even if they say, who's that guy that's always sending me those emails? At least all they got to do is go back and look in your email for the past couple of weeks. They're going to find something from you and they're going to call you. You're going to become the only logical solution.
Yep. Great input.
Thank you.
And wisdom there.
Thank you.
All right, good. Henning.
Yep.
Do you see questions in the chat bar? I'm going
to
let me moderate questions.
Yeah, let's start there. Charles put one in here, and it's specific to new sales, new clients in the enterprise software sales with long sales cycles, multiple stakeholders. And Charles would like to know what some of the best practices are in terms of follow-up in this specific scenario.
Charles, thank you for that question. That's a great question. And you know, first of all, the situation I just described with Andrew would be one that helps there, which is, making sure that educating and even entertaining. I love to tell stories, and people love to listen to stories, and so you can educate through your storytelling, entertain them at the same time, engage them, ask for feedback, ask them for calls to action. All right. And even engage some of the champions of those, within an organization, you're likely, sometimes I hear, Charles, you can help me out better with this. Sometimes you might have, you're going to have multiple stakeholders. It could be 10 or more, right? But within those, you probably develop a relationship with a couple of them before the others, and you can ask their help in championing that message. But what we really want to do, what flawless follow-up gives you, is a layer of that consistency and frequency. It does not replace personal interaction. It doesn't. Okay. And people call me and say, well, I can't automate things. I got to be personal. I'm not telling you don't be personal. I'm saying put this layer, all right, of this entertainment and education and engagement, because it gives you that consistency, it gives you that frequency, it keeps you in front of them. And with that, when they see something they like, they're going to start passing it to the other stakeholders, saying, hey, check this out. Look what Charles is talking about. This is exactly what we talked about in this meeting. That's what's going to happen when you give them information. I get brought into businesses all the time. They've got information and collateral material through the ceiling. They've got so much information and they've got so much collateral. What they don't have is they don't have a consistent process to distribute it. So it's not getting used effectively and efficiently the way that it needs to. We could take that collateral material and put it in place with these type of nurture campaigns to make sure that happens. Does that answer your question, Charles?
Steve, that does. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you for the great question.
Steve, let me follow up here on Charles with the thought of how customized the solution ends up being that a client puts into place. Or the other extreme, is there a blueprint in regards to frequency and sequencing and the number of messages that always works?
I love that question. All right. So I'll start with the last one. No, there's no magic number. There's no magic email. There's no magic silver bullet at all. All right. The thing that the reason we're going to win, going back to the first story that I told, being at the right place at the right time, at the right moment, we never know when that is. But the consistency and the process gives us better chances of making that happen for us. Okay. That's what we do more than anything. So no, the magic number is not 6, 12, or 18, and there's no word that's going to do it. There isn't. All right. But the process puts the odds in our favor. That's what we do. That's number one. Now, in terms of the systems, considering that the majority of businesses really have poor to none of this in place, it's remarkably simple how easy it is to improve sales, get that low-hanging fruit. And I even have an ebook, which I'd like to share with people at the end here, which is called How to Win Back Customers in 3 Days with 5 Simple Email Messages. And if you do this, you're probably going to get some sales. And for most businesses, that's where I start off. I go in and say, great, let's pull your data. Let's get your customer files. Where do you have customer files? First of all, I do an audit because have all their files in one place. Sure, they've got a CRM, but they also have accounting, they got QuickBooks, and they also have paper files, and they also have calendars, and they also have they got data everywhere, but they don't bring it together and do this. So the first thing we do is go get this data, bring it together, and then give people a reason to raise their hand and say, yeah, I need some help right now. And you'd be amazed at how well this works, and it works extremely quickly. Now, when you do get into larger corporations, when you do get into enterprise systems and long sales cycles and multiple stakeholders, then yeah, you might want to customize. You might want to add more of this on there, and that's going to be more of a custom job. But I'm developing flawless follow-up for the masses. I'm developing because there are 7 core funnels that go into flawless follow-up, and that will get the job done for a lot of businesses that have mounds of data right now that they're not doing anything with, and will help them get customers and get them fast.
When we put the webinar out for and invited people, we titled it How to Beat 89% of Your Competition with 8 Simple Messages. What scenario does that apply to, and where do those numbers come from?
So that, and yes, I gave you that title. There's many studies out there. One of them recently from Microsoft, and I'm looking at a slide on my other monitor right here. And it shows, in fact, is it okay if I show that slide?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me go ahead and show you this one slide here. I got a whole slide deck open here, but let me show you this one slide here. All right. And I got to adjust some things on my screen. Is everybody seeing this? This slide from Microsoft? And I could blow it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay. Let's see if I could. There we go. So this is it. All right. So what you can see here is, here's your prospect. One message, one follow-up contact. 50% of the salespeople, they never go beyond 1. 65% of salespeople, they give up after just 2 follow-up messages. And so it goes down, and you could see here that at 89, after 4 messages, 89% of salespeople, businesses, they don't follow up beyond that 4th message. All right. So, and then you can see, you get down here, you get down to 9 follow-up messages. You got a 90% chance of making the sale when the prospect is ready. We thought that's so important: ready, willing, and able. And they used to say, Andrew, we were talking about this, and earlier you were talking about a great salesman, and there used to be this saying that he's so good he could sell ice to an Eskimo. And today, I think only I'll use nice language. Only a jerk would sell ice to an Eskimo. Why would you sell something to somebody that doesn't need it? I think that's the point. Hey, he doesn't really need it. So why are you going to sell it to him? These days, it's all about being at the right place, being the only logical decision, the go-to person when somebody says, I need that, I'm ready to buy.
Okay, wonderful. So if there are other questions, just unmute yourself
And let me stop
and
sharing
ask
here.
it.
Yep.
That's always easiest. And if they're not, Andrew, I'll give the mic back to you and have you
Okay.
close us out.
Great. It's all about keeping top of mind, Steve. And that's the art and the challenge. And so we will be spending more time together. And I know from our business at Vendux where a year later, people have been reading the newsletter and seeing, content that we would be putting out on LinkedIn and joining these webinars. We've had people come in like out of the blue, it seems, and they would say, I've been getting your newsletters.
Bingo.
I've always enjoyed your content. I've never engaged with you, but let's have a conversation. It might be appropriate timing to explore your service for our business. So yeah, we've experienced that.
Congrats, Andrew. That's exactly what we deliver for businesses. So good for you. That's the way to do it.
Charles? Sorry, it's a couple of questions. Do you folks want to open up your mic and ask Steve any questions?
Somebody,
Steve, if you don't mind, I do have a question. This is JC.
Yeah, yes, JC.
So the Microsoft slide that you put up, yeah, I think I've seen it many times before, and I totally agree that those numbers are significant, that they do apply. One of the biggest challenges as a VP sales right now, leading teams of territory sales managers and so on, is they talk about how, it's all great to say, well, you need to have 10, 12, 15, 20 reach outs. Problem is I'm not hearing anything back. When I call people, I just can never reach them on the phone. Texting doesn't work. When I send out emails, it's very, very rare for me to get a response. And I feel like I'm probably just getting into some kind of a dark hole of spam. When you talk about, from your perspective, the 8, 10, 12, 15 reach outs, is this text, is this email, is this phone calls, is it a combination of the above? And have you discovered kind of a magic formula, if you will, or a combination that somehow gets to the point of getting actually a response from a decision maker?
Wow, that is a phenomenal question. So, you know what it is, and in the numbers, what you're hearing from your folks are kind of sort of true, but they're not looking for the right thing. All right. What I train my clients to look for is activity. All right. So this is why when we send out these communications, and every communication we send out should have a call to action. And now go back to what we're talking about: educating, entertaining, engaging. What if so you send out a whole bunch of information, maybe it's a case study about a success story. What industry are you in, JC?
Multiple industries. So I'm a fractional VP sales and a CGO. So this is something I've run across with sales teams and BD teams in multiple industries. In particular, I was thinking about one client who's in manufacturing.
Beautiful. All right. So I once did some time in the building materials business. Okay. So I'll use that as an example. And we used to send out case studies to builders. Now, builders would never return your call. Only if they're on a job site and needed something, right? But at the last minute, oh my God, I need something, I'm out. But what I did was I would send out things all the time. Hey, here's how so and so is using a product. Here's a really cool example of how so and so is using a product. Now, here's the magic, JC. I wasn't waiting to hear back from those people. But if I send out 100 emails or 1,000 emails, here's what's going to happen. At best, 15 to 20% of those are going to get opened. All right, at best. Now, at best, a much smaller percentage of those people are going to click on the link to go watch the video, go read the thing. But that's where the magic comes in. Okay, that's where the magic comes in. Because if I send out 100 or I send out 1,000, I don't have to worry about 100 or 1,000. I might have 10 or 15 or 20 people that clicked on that link. And now my follow-up is very specific. Hey, JC, I saw you watch that video about that installation. What are you working on? How can we talk about how that's going to make it a better home? So we can have, we're now, remember, right message, right person, right time. I said, I'm looking for processes that put me in the right place at the right time with the right message. I know, okay, here's a builder interested in this product, went and watched something. I could follow up with him with some very, very specific intelligence and a much different message than, hey, how you doing? Can I take you to coffee? Can I drop off some donuts? Can I try to sell you something? So that's one of the things that we do. One of the beautiful things about technology today and marketing today, use that word marketing, all right? It's not so much about the message we put out. It's amazing the intelligence we get back. It's amazing the intelligence we get back. I literally put stepping stones in front of people to see who's stepping on the stones, because those are the people that I follow up with. So I can isolate the hottest prospects and know where to focus my attention. That's what I would tell your folks.
Interesting. Okay. Just as a quick follow-up, you mentioned video, and I've used that with a couple of clients before. It made it sound like you're talking about a very focused, specific video. So when you're sending an email with a video link, that video is actually specifically geared to and focused to that client. Is that correct? Or is it a generic, more of a generic video?
You know, there's an application for all the above.
Okay.
All right. You know, when I connect with somebody on LinkedIn, I take, after we connect, I take my phone and I shoot a message. JC, great to connect with you. And I make a personal video for you as a thank you. Okay. That's very, very personal. All right. But if I'm sending something out to 1,000 people on my list, then no, it's going to be more general. It's going to be more, hey, check out this case study. Watch what happened. Watch these great results. All right. I'm going to be looking for who clicks on the link to watch it. I'll have a call to action at the bottom that says, if you like this for you, for your company, here's my calendar, or I might send them to a qualifying survey. You know, let's find out if you're qualified. That's another step that, you know, I like to introduce because I want to spend my time with qualified people, not with, you know, I don't want picking, you know, brain pickers and tire kickers. So, you know, those are all things that we could build into the process. But those are great questions, and love to have a chat with you anytime about that.
Perfect. Well, I for one look forward to receiving my personalized video when we connect on LinkedIn.
You got it.
Great.
Thanks, JC.
Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Thank
Andrew
you.
and Henning.
Brain pickers and tire kickers.
Great.
Oh,
Well, I have got a form for checking out on when people say to me, hey, can I pick your brain? I say, absolutely. Let me send you the link. It takes them to a link, and it's, you know, $500 for an hour of my time to pick my brain. It says Steve's brain picking, $500. Not many people take me up on that.
yeah.
So I've got another friend in this business. He does something similar, and he's not as nice as I am. So somebody says, hey, can I take you to lunch and I'll pick your brain? And then he gives them a very strong response, which I won't repeat here, but he says, forget that. You pay me my fee and I'll take you to lunch.
Perfect.
Chris, you unmuted yourself.
I did. Hi.
Hey,
Thank you,
Chris.
Steve. This has been really wonderful and helpful.
Thank
One
you.
of the things that I'm actually challenging with is trying to make things a little bit more automated. But the balance between my personal notes and marketing has been like big jumble at times. And so I'm just kind of curious as to, you know, how you kind of set up that cadence and the standard and how it might be effective both to mix what, you know, a conversation you've had and the follow-up versus what is coming out from your organization. Just, is there a best practices? I know you mentioned that numbers are not what matters, top of mind what matters, but I'm curious as to how do you get this so it kind of like makes sense in some type of order?
Well, very well, thank you. Flawlessly, in fact. But so that is exactly the question. All right. And so I mentioned that flawless follow-up basically comprised of 7 different funnels. And it's a longer conversation, Chris, but I'll give you a very, very quick overview here. You know, in terms of the cadences, there are different cadences for where people are in the buying process and when you meet them. The thing to realize is usually when you meet somebody for the very first time is probably when they might be in most need of what you do. Now, I'm not talking about networking. I'm not talking about you're in a room and you're shaking hands with 100 people. But if somebody, they find you on the net, they call you, it's like, hey, I'm looking for something. Well, this is really the best time to actually sell them. And most people, you know, you might look at my slide and say, oh, I can't sell you anything right now because I got to talk to you 8 times or 12 times before I can try it. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, the first thing you should do, I say filter first and nurture next. The first thing you should do is find out, what's your situation? Is this something you need right now? And go for that sale, because that's likely why they found you in the first place. So we start off with what we call an ignition funnel. All right. The first thing we do with the flawless follow-up, and this is, I'm going a little deeper into my process. But the first thing is the ignition funnel. It ignites a new relationship. And the first thing I'm trying to figure out is, I'm filtering. Are you ready, willing, and able to buy right now? Is there a situation you need this right now? So because we want multiple messages, the cadence is a little more aggressive. It's a little more frequent right when you meet people. So I tell people at least 5 messages in the first 2 weeks, first 14 days. So spread out messages every 2 to 3 days. And the way I like to do this, I like to work with my clients or teach them that the best thing to do is make these messages somewhat related. Easiest way to do it is say 5 steps to accomplish this, or 5 frequently answered questions. But tell them, over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to send you a series of 5 emails that are going to tell you this, 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 and this. And then you literally say in your subject, here's message 1 of 5. And you close that message by saying, watch for my next email. And you do what's called an open loop, where they look forward to it. You create expectations and set anticipation. And you say, in the next couple of days, I'm going to send you another email. Watch for it. It's going to say 2 of 5. And I'm going to address this big question in your mind. When you do that for the first 14 days, you're liable to get people that say, yeah, that's what I need right now. All right. So you're liable to find the people that want it. Not most of them. Most people are not, but that's okay. You're only looking for the few that are. Then after that, you're going to go into what we call a follow-up forever and a long-term nurture campaign. So that's a very broad overview of what that looks like. But if you can picture what that all looks like, that's a little bit of a semblance of how these processes all fit together.
Thank you. That's actually helpful. Appreciate it.
Thank you. What business are you in?
I'm in consulting and fractional. So it's an interesting journey to have these conversations.
Terrific. I'm very glad to meet you. When Andrew asked me earlier about the training, I'm actually working with fractional. I'm looking for folks like you and JC that work with businesses. I can't be everywhere. There are so many businesses that need this. You've got the relationships. Your job is to make a difference for these folks. And I promise you, there's I call them acres of diamonds. There's a story, you could Google it on the internet. Your clients, I promise, are sitting on acres of diamonds that we could make reality.
That is the segue to wrap up. I was looking forward to some pearls of wisdom. I've got truckloads of wisdom or truckloads of pearls from you, Steve. Thank you so very much.
Andrew.
Do you have something that you want to wrap up with here? And
Sure, let me put something on the screen here.
Okay.
So first of all, if you got a smartphone, take out and scan that QR code. That's the book I was talking about. It's a short little read, but this is essentially what I call a win back, where you can get customers, or at least find people raising their hand, 5 messages in 3 days with a win back program. So that's my gift to you. You could also go to flawlessfollow.com/Vendux. Do we have that? Can I put that in the chat?
Yep, sure.
There it is. So you could scan the QR code or click on the link or grab that link, but please feel free, grab that book. It will help you. And of course, always reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, and there's probably a few calls to action in that book, I imagine. So you'll know where to find me.
Love it. Steve, it's been awesome. Love having you. Thank you so very much for your time, your insights, your guidance, and your stories. Wonderful to have you. Perhaps we'll do this again over the next few months. I guess there'll be a, hey, let's do it again kind of call. Anyway.
Just
in the
follow up with me,
meantime,
Andrew.
It's all about the follow-up, for sure. Steve, have a great rest of the week. Thank you so much. Great to see everybody here today. All the best. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I enjoyed it so much. Andrew and Henning, thanks for having me. And everybody, thanks for spending time with me today.
All the best. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, bye-bye,
Thanks, Henning.
everybody.
Bye.